Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this session. Climate has a major impact not only on grape wine growth and yield, but also on the quality of wines and the way they are produced. Temperature, rainfall, and solar radiation have always shaped vineyard distribution, local practices, and wine styles. Today, however, increasing variability and extreme events such as heat waves, frost, and floods are already compromising grape productivity and wine quality. Over the past century, European regions have warmed by 2 to 5 degrees, with shifts in rainfall and more frequent extremes. According to IPCC scenarios, global temperatures could rise by up to 5 degrees by the end of the century, accelerating vine development, reducing yields, and threatening both composition and sensory quality of wines. These challenges affect not only viticulture in the vineyard, but also how wines are crafted and preserved in the cellar. Grape composition is highly sensitive to climate and this directly affects winemaking. Rising temperatures accelerate sugar accumulation, often leading to higher alcohol wines, while reducing berry weight and causing shriveling. At the same time, acidity decreases, pH increases, and phenolic maturity lags behind, creating an imbalance in ripening. Heat and water stress also reduce aromatic compounds, resulting in wines with less freshness, complexity, and sensory quality. Identify the right stage of grape maturity to maintain balance is becoming one of the key challenges for future viticulture and winemaking. A rise in wine pH weakens one of its main natural protective barriers. Normally, low pH from 3 to 3.8, together with alcohol, acids, and phenolics, inhibits pathogens and spoilage microbes, making wine a microbiologically safe product. However, when pH increases, this antimicrobial effect diminishes. This creates risk both for the survival of pathogens such as Staphylococcus and Salmonella, and for the growth of spoilage organisms like Brettanomyces or lactic acid bacteria, which can cause off flavors, excessive acidity, biogenic amines, or refermentations. The protective synergy of ethanol, polyphenolics, and acidity is therefore strongly dependent on maintaining low pH. Several vineyards interventions have been proposed to cope with these challenges. For instance, severe or minimal shoot trimming can regulate canopy size and photosynthetic activity, thus modulating grape ripening. Late pruning delays the onset of the growth cycle, effectively shifting grape maturation to cooler periods. Leaf removal modifies light and temperature exposure around the cluster, influencing phenolic development and aroma precursors. Finally, forced grow techniques can postpone maturation by as much as 2 months, providing a strategic adaptation under warming conditions. In the winery, additional physicochemical options are available. Cation exchange resins and bipolar membrane electrodialysis can fine-tune acidity and pH, restoring balance when grapes ripen too quickly. Conversely, reverse osmosis and nanofiltration allow partial control of sugar concentration, helping mitigate excessive alcohol levels in the final wine. Together, these technologies provide effective but often costly solutions, highlighting the need for complementary and sustainable approaches. This is where microbial resources, particularly non-Saccharomyces yeasts, come into play. Generally isolated from faulty wines and traditionally considered undesirable, and due to their poor fermentation efficiency, production of volatile acidity, and limited ethanol tolerance, they are now recognized as important biotechnological tools. These yeasts contribute to regional typicity and authenticity, adding distinctive sensory traits that are increasingly valued in a global wine market. Lachantia thermotolerance is a key non-Saccharomyces yeast for climate change adaptation, mainly thanks to its ability to biologically acidify wines. It produces lactic acid during fermentation, lowering pH by 0.1 to 0.5 units, and in some cases also malic acid, helping to restore freshness. It generates little volatile acidity, maintains good SO2 tolerance, and has bioprotective effects against spoilage microbes while supporting malolactic fermentation. Overall, it is a versatile tool to improve balance, stability, and quality under warm and growing conditions. In this 2024 harvest experiment, 5 trials were compared. 2 were controls, trial F acidified with tartaric acid and trial G not acidified but both fermented immediately with Saccharomyces cerevisiae. The other 3 trials, H, I and L, used Lachantia thermotolerance added after crushing, followed by Saccharomyces cerevisiae at 24, 48 or 72 hours respectively. In all cases, lactic acid bacteria were also added to promote malolactic fermentation. As you can see here, the temperature profile during fermentation were very similar across all 5 trials, which means that the thermal evolution of the process did not show significant differences. What did change as expected was the fermentation kinetics. In the trials where Lachantia was used, we observed a clear initial slowdown in the fermentation curve. This slowdown was directly related to how long Lachantia remained active before Saccharomyces cerevisiae was inoculated. In other words, the longer we waited to introduce Saccharomyces, the more evident the delay at the start of fermentation. Despite these differences at the beginning, all fermentation proceeded regularly, and by the 8th day, they could be considered fully completed. All fermentation finished successfully, as shown by the similar residual sugar levels across trials. The key difference was in alcohol. With Lachantia thermotolerance, ethanol was reduced by 0.15 to 0.3%, depending on how long it remained active before Saccharomyces was added. This demonstrated that Lachantia not only supports complete fermentation but also helps lower alcohol levels, a valuable advantage in the context of climate change, consistent with findings in the literature. Malolactic fermentation was successfully completed in all trials with similar malic acid degradation curves confirming no negative microbial interaction. The key difference was lactic acid. In the controls, it came only from malolactic fermentation, while in Lachantia wines there was an additional production from 0.66 to 2.56 grams per liter, directly produced from Lachantia. This highlights Lachantia's role in actively modulating wine acidity. As you can see here, when we look at the values of volatile acidity and total acidity, they are all well within the typical range for wines of high quality. This is a very important point because it shows that the use of Lachantia does not lead to any unwanted increase in volatile acidity. In other words, we can take advantage of the benefits of Lachantia for freshness and balance without compromising. The use of Lachantia thermotolerance led to slightly higher levels of higher alcohols compared to the controls. 3-methylbutanol and total higher alcohols increased moderately but stayed within the range that enhances fruity and floral complexity. Phenylethyl alcohol linked to rose-like aromas also rose slightly, adding aromatic finesse. Overall, Lachantia promoted a positive aromatic shift without exceeding desirable threshold. In the trials with Lachantia thermotolerance, both fatty acid and ethyl ester show concentrations that are less than half of those found in the Saccharomyces controls. This difference can have sensory implications. Fatty acids are usually associated with heavy, unpleasant aromas, so their reduction is actually a positive aspect. On the other hand, ethyl esters, when present at lower concentration may shift toward notes of overripe or tropical fruits, which can change the balance of the aroma profile. Interestingly, when we look at the acetate esters, which are associated with fresh fruity and floral notes, their concentration is actually higher in the Lachantia trials. This is particularly relevant because acetate esters play an important role in defining the sensory character of young wines, contributing brightness, freshness, and aromatic appeal. So, overall, the use of Lachantia seems to reduce heavy and less pleasant aromas, while at the same time enhancing fruity floral characters that are especially valuable in fresh young wines. Linalool levels were significantly higher in the Lachantia thermotolerance trials. This terpene adds floral and citrus-like freshness, likely linked to the yeast beta-glucosidase activity. While terpenes are less relevant in red wine, this early release of glycosidic precursor without exogenous enzymes highlights an interesting technological opportunity to enhance aromatic expression. The sensory analysis by a trained panel confirmed the analytical results on the aroma compounds. Control wines resulted less pleasant with vegetal fruity for F and bitter notes for G trials. Wines with Lachantia thermotolerance, especially trials H and I, showed the best gustatory balance and retronasal pleasantness, while L was intermediate. Overall, Lachantia enhanced harmony and drinkability. Another option among the different microbial resources is Mesnikovia pulcherrima. Mesnikovia is a versatile non-Saccharomyces yeast that enhances aroma and provides bioprotection. Its enzymatic activities release terpenes and thiols, boosting fruity notes, while some strains slightly reduce ethanol without increasing volatile acidity. Through pulcherrimine production, it limits competing microbes and may reduce SO2 use. It also improves oxidative stability via glutathione release and works well in combination with Lachantia, enhancing both freshness and stability. Overall, it is a multifunctional tool for improving wine quality and microbiological control. On the other hand, we can also consider some bacteria older than yeast as microbial resources. Lactic acid Bacillus paracase is a promising lactic acid bacterium due to its strain-specific antioxidant potential. Performance varies widely among isolates and depends strongly on growth condition. In the slide, an example of this strain variability. Beyond antioxidant activity, some strains also show probiotic properties and the ability to release aroma compounds from grape precursors. While studies in wine are still limited, evidence suggests it could enhance antioxidant stability, aroma, and potentially contribute to probiotic functionality. However, its application requires careful strain selection, testing under wine-like conditions, and evaluation of compatibility with yeast and malolactic bacteria to ensure both technological efficiency and sensory quality. In this trial on Pinot Gris, we focus on the delicate stage of pre-fermentation maturation and post-fermentation, when must and wine are most exposed to oxidation and microbial spoilage. Traditionally, SO2 is used for its antioxidant and antimicrobial effects, but reducing its use has become a key challenge due to regulatory pressure, consumer demand, and sensory concerns. To address this, we tested a combined strategy with Mesnikovia and lactic acid Bacillus casei, aiming to naturally protect the wine and reduce or even eliminate SO2 without compromising freshness or quality. 4 different trials were set up, each with a specific inoculation strategy. Trial LA, control with SO2, was added with sulfur dioxide before and after fermentation and Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Trial LIN, Saccharomyces cerevisiae was added without the use of SO2 but inoculating also inactive yeast. In and to evaluate the potential antioxidant effect. The trial par was set with Mexicovia pulcherrima and Saccharomyces cerevisiae at the beginning of the fermentation, followed by the inoculation of lactic acid Bacillus casei in post-fermentation. Then the last one is trial TAN that used Saccharomyces cerevisiae plus tannins. Regarding microbial ecology during the fermentation, Saccharomyces cerevisiae dominates quickly in ELA trials and remains stable throughout the fermentation. Non-Saccharomyces is decline early, and lactic acid bacteria stay at low levels, showing the protective effect of SO2. In lean trials, higher persistence of non-Saccharomyces and lactic acid bacteria, especially in the later stages, was registered. This indicates a looser microbial control compared to the SO2 trials. In PAR trial, Mexicovia pulcherrima shows high yearly growth, then declines after Saccharomyces takes over. Lactic acid bacteria increase at the end as expected, confirming good coexistence between the inoculated strains. In the TAN trials, the profile is similar to the one of SO2 trial, with rapid dominance of Saccharomyces, but lactic acid bacteria show slightly higher survival, reflecting the absence of chemical protection. All trials achieved complete fermentation with the final ethanol levels of 14-15% and full sugar depletion. LA, PAR and TAN showed similar and faster kinetic, while lean progressed more slowly, but still reached completion. From the microbial count data, it is evident that in lean trial the system was not able to control lactic acid bacteria. This lack of control is confirmed by the acid curves, where lean shows a strong malolactic activity with a marked degradation of malic acid and a corresponding increase in lactic acid, reaching values close to 1.25 gram per liter for residual malic acid. In contrast, the other strategies, whether based on SO2, on the bioprotective effect of Mexicovia and lactic acid bacillus in the PAR trials, or in the use of tannins in TAN, all provided effective microbial control. As a result, in these cases, malic acid was only partially consumed, stabilizing around 2.5 gram per liter, and lactic acid production remained limited. This clearly demonstrates that the inoculation and protection strategy strongly influences the extent of malolactic fermentation, with lean showing uncontrolled bacterial growth, while the other trials ensured a much more stable outcome. The polyphenol content, the IPT, was highest in TAN, followed by PAR trial, while LA and lean showed similar and lower values, confirming the protective and reinforcing effect on tannin addition and bioprotection. In terms of color, the PAR trial with bioprotection preserved freshness and brightness comparable to the SO2 control, demonstrating clear antioxidant efficacy. In contrast, lean did not provide the same protection, showing signs of browning. TAN trial seems similar to lean. However, in this case, the result may be partly due to the intrinsic color of the added tannins, rather than solely due to oxidation. The IPT data are consistent with this interpretation, confirming higher polyphenols content in TAN compared to the other trials. Overall, these results highlight that while both SO2 and bioprotection with PAR effectively prevented oxidation, other strategies such as inactive yeasts were less efficient, and tannins require a more careful interpretation due to their direct impact on wine color. In conclusion, these trials clearly demonstrate the potential of microbial resources as effective tools to face the challenges of winemaking under climate change. The use of Lactantia Thermotolerance proved valuable in improving wine balance through biological acidification, a slight reduction of ethanol, and an enhancement of aromatic complexity. On the other hand, the combined use of Mesenicoia pulcherrima and lactic acid bacteria show a promising result in terms of bioprotection and oxidative stability, allowing wines to be preserved without relying exclusively on SO2. Taken together, these results highlight that non-Saccharomyces cyst and selected bacteria are not just alternatives, but can be considered strategic allies in modern enology. They provide solutions to reduce chemical inputs, improve microbial and oxidative stability, and at the same time enhance wine quality, making them powerful resources rather than problems in contemporary winemaking. With this I conclude, and I thank you for your attention. Thanks.